Welcome to this week's edition of The Scots in Us. I'm Camilla Hellman, and this week I'm very delighted that we're going to be celebrating with ImpEx and with Isle of Harris 10th anniversaries. But let's begin by joining ImpEx, a distributor who is bringing so many wonderful young new brands to the United States for us to all enjoy. And we couldn't be more delighted to have this chance to find out a little bit more.
I'm delighted that this week on The Scots in Us, we are talking to the founder and CEO of ImpEx, who are Sam Filmus. They are a wonderful distributor that is headquartered on the West Coast that has an eye for discovering and nurturing and developing emerging whiskey spirit brands. And we're very fortunate that alongside our other offerings of whiskey, we work with ImpEx to bring these really emerging brands to life, alongside with the help of Robin Robinson, our longtime friend, who curates many of our whiskey tastings. So good afternoon, Sam. Thank you
Hi,
for
Camilla.
joining us.
Hello, and thank you for the invite.
Well,
Happy
we
to be
wanted
here.
to know a little bit more about ImpEx because you really, as I was saying, nurture and discover emerging brands. And it's not easy for a whiskey brand to get going in the States. So you're doing a terrific job making sure we can discover these brands.
Oh, Camilla, it's not easy, but it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun seeing like small kids growing and getting their achievements and their successes. Same thing with those young distilleries. I'm going to take you a little bit before the impact started. In 1999, we opened the company, the distribution company in California called JVS. And then we decided to open the import company so we can sell it in other states as well. So that's where ImpEx was born in 2008. So we celebrate our almost 19 years now, in maybe a little bit less, 18, in business with JVS and about 15 years with ImpEx.
So are you also doing gin as well as whiskey?
The heart of our portfolio is Scotch right. Whiskey, single malt Scotch, blended malt. But we found this wonderful distillery in the skirts of Edinburgh called Secret Garden Distillery that produces gin only. And they're wonderful people. It's an Armstrong family, mother and two daughters that are doing the fantastic job of bringing greatest gin to people to enjoy. So
I have not had any Secret Garden gin yet, so I have to discover that.
Yeah, it's a bit tricky, Camilla, because it's called in US, it's called Herb Garden Gin because we're special. Unfortunately, the name of Secret Garden was taken by some other company, so we had to go through reapplying the labels and all this good fun. But yeah, it's Herb Garden Distillery.
I think that sounds great. So, but going back to our whiskey, if you were to give us 3 whiskeys that we're going to keep our focus on in the next few months, what would they be? Bearing that I think would be very good if we could focus up onto 3 different whiskeys, young whiskeys.
Sure, Camilla. It's probably the most difficult question to answer because our portfolio consists of the distilleries that are located all over Scotland, and they represent different whiskey producing regions in Scotland, from lowlands to highlands to Isla, in between with some Speyside and islands, etc. So, but since we discussed that, and I know you want to represent us in the best way, if we're talking about lowland whiskey, I would recommend Lochley, especially with your Robert Burns event, as Lochley It's a farm where Robert Burns used to live and work from 1777 to 1784, and nothing could be historically so close to the distillery that produces their whiskeys just from the barley that grows at the distillery. They don't bring any sourced barley. So whatever the harvest is this year, that's how much whiskey they will have. If the harvest is not as good, then they would produce less whiskey. So there'd be
Brilliant.
lowlands, and then out of islands, we talked about Kilchoman. I think that's a very good representative of what people are looking for when it comes to peaty, smoky whiskey with an island character, with nice kind of a coastal maritime influence. People in Kilchoman are doing a great job. By the way, we're celebrating the 20th anniversary of the distillery, along with us being as an importer of Kilchoman, our 15th anniversary. And Anthony Wills, who is a founder and owner of the distillery, is going to be coming in September to celebrate that. It's going to be like a West Coast tour where he would be signing the bottles, talking about the whiskey, and visiting Colorado, Nevada, Oregon, and Northern California with the whiskeys of the world. So I think that would be a good way to please the palates of your Isla whiskey lovers.
Yeah.
And
But
something
also, as I mentioned, 3 bottles went into a suitcase and made their way to us in 2010, just as you were starting to import to our Burns night. And which was the first tasting of Kilchoman over here, I believe, when we did that at our Burns night. So it'd be great if we can have it as part of our Burns night in January next year.
Absolutely. That's a great story, Camilla. And if you don't mind, I will share it with my network, because I think it's remarkable. It shows, we say it's a small world, but when it comes to spirits world, it's even smaller. And that's why we like the community and we like what we do.
And our audience, our members and patrons, really enjoy the unique, different blends that are, brands that are coming through, and so appreciate what you're bringing us. And we were just going to you were thinking of a third one, which would give a balance to the peatiness, the non-peat, and everything, the lowlands, the highlands. So which one would that be?
Well, again, I hope my other distilleries will not be upset with me, but what you're kind of to match your criteria, Camilla, I would say Ardnamurchan would be the one in the middle. It's a Western Highland distillery that uses both for their core expression. They use both peated and unpeated distillate, and they use the combination of bourbon casks and sherry casks. I think it's great for people who maybe not enjoy too much of a Islay whiskey, but then looking for some additional character in the whiskey, or for people who are going into Islay whiskey. That's a great kind of gateway, even though they use Highland peat and etc. But this is something that I would say would satisfy the palates in the middle between Kilchoman and Lochlear.
Well, that's fantastic. So, you have started really doing more on the East Coast than you were doing before. Is that? Are you doing a push over to us as well?
Well, we kind of naturally we started with the West Coast because my distribution company was and still is located out of California. So that was kind of naturally we would bring products to either Long Beach in LA
Right.
or Oakland port in Northern California. But we have a pretty good presence in the East Coast, whether it's Florida or New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, Mid-Atlantic, New England. We basically cover most important markets, but we also are open and are doing pretty well in the kind of markets that you would think not as single malt oriented.
That's fantastic. So, I know we said that we concentrate on these three, but you also, in an earlier conversation, mentioned that you often have some small releases, some special ones. Is there a way for our listeners to be able to find out about those? Do you have a website they can, or a club they can become a member of? How can they find out about these limited releases?
So we have a website, and we update it on a regular basis. So it would be reflected there, but also if people want to sign up for our MailChimp to receive, we usually do it maybe once a month, once in 1 month and a half. It's not something that would be,
Right.
showering them. That would be the best thing to do. And we have local representatives in all the major markets. So we'll be more than happy to connect them so that they can take him to the favorite retailer or let them know where it's available.
Fantastic. Well, I'm so glad that we're now connected with you. We've been working with you for the last year and a half or so, and it's growing, and to understand more about all you're doing, because we need the importers and distributors like you to give a chance to the young new brands coming up, like Kilchoman, who 10 years ago meant nothing, and now is a very favorite brand of many.
Yeah, this is great. I remember us bringing Kilchoman first couple years, I would say, and trying to not to put it against Lafroig's and Ardbegs and Lagavulins of the world, but kind of show that it's the same style but has its own DNA. It has its own kind of a character, and that was tough. But we made it, and now, yeah, everyone knows about Kilchoman, which is great. So.
And if there's one whiskey that can have its name butchered, it's Ardemutschen. I cannot get that right, but Ardemutschen. But I wish there was a simpler way to say that. But
Yeah.
it's a fantastic, fantastic whiskey. And I look forward to being able to sample Lockley, and that will be a nice new addition to what we offer at our upcoming whiskey tastings. Thank you.
Absolutely, Camilla, and we'll be more than happy and proud to do that. For us, liquid to lips is very important. We're not afraid to open our whiskey and have people taste it. We like to share the stories. Like I said, you just mentioned Ardnamurchan. I know Alex Bruce, who is behind this, Adelphi and Ardnamurchan, fantastic individual. Like every distillery that we represent, whether it's at Glenallachie, other Speyside with Billy Walker, or Neckneen, which is an organic whiskey run by very, very talented Annabelle Thomas and Woolburn and Isle of Raasay. Like, I'm afraid that I'm going to miss one or two of them, so forgive me, whoever I didn't list, but they all are fantastic whiskeys producing.
And we're going to send them to your website so that they can discover. But we've given them a little bit of a signpost, which is great. Thank you so much, Sam, for talking to us and introducing us to the world of ImpEx. And onwards we go. Thank you.
Thank you, Camilla, very much for invite, and let's continue our partnership.
Absolutely.
Cheers.
The American Scottish Foundation has been involved with the Isle of Harris Distillery from the very moments it was conceived, early on, I should really say, as they made their first journey to the United States to share a vision, led at that time by Simon Erlanger, who really is a mastermind within the whole Isle of Harris Distillery. He came to see us and explained how he wanted to bring a distillery to the Isle of Harris. It is now 10 years since the Isle of Harris Distillery became a reality. And so we would like to raise a glass and toast the Isle of Harris Distillery and take a moment to see where this wonderful gin and all their products, and now whiskey as well, is coming from. The beautiful Isle of Harris. The gin that we have all come to love is botanical gin. It has wonderful kelp flavoring, and really everything from the design of the bottle that Simon conceived from the very beginning speaks to us of this magical island of Harris. And so, thank you for joining us this week. We just wanted to take a moment this week to salute really two wonderful industry forces, ImpEx and Isle of Harris, because without this dedication, we would not have such a vibrant, wonderful industry. Scotland has had a really thriving, growing market, especially in recent years. It really is so exciting. And so, keep up to date on all we're doing by visiting our website, americanscottishfoundation.com. And please join us for events and do sign up for our newsletter if you're not doing so already. And until next time.